Good evening. Welcome to the October 26th Ahrb meeting. Thank you for everyone for your patience. I know we've had a meeting we canceled and we've had some holidays, so I know everyone's anxious to get in front of us tonight. So we'll try to facilitate, expedite some of these applications. But we did have a request from, I'm sorry, who was it again?
She's not here. She'll be back. So that
All right,
goes with
89
the
Mohican.
package.
So we'll start at the top with 100 Main Street. Oh, we're already ready to go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Pat Steinschneider from Gotham Design Community Development. It has been a while since we were before this board. Since that time, we've made some progress with the planning board. The planning board has adopted a resolution which basically says that if the board of trustees decides to approve it, it stipulates a number of conditions as well as some requirements. What needs to be the condition is their recommendation is that the top floor be removed, reducing it to 2 stories instead of 3.
This is of the portion between the barn and the existing building. Okay.
So that's where we're at with it, and this board has, well, this board, I understand, participated in the document that was produced, I guess, by Rob Lane from when you had the joint meeting. This board has actually not issued yet a recommendation to the board of trustees.
That's
So
right.
what we're looking for is to do that. The only thing I'll mention about the document that Rob Lane produced expressing the concerns and interests of the 2 boards is that the 3 items that were addressed on that did not include the reduction of the height, which of course was the height at the time that this was presented. So I know you have a long agenda to get through pretty quick. This is the list. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, this is the list of the changes and the differences that we made. That was submitted a long time ago, and I think we actually have some additionals now, which is only to demonstrate that we've been through a process trying to work very closely with this board to find a solution that we get. We have not come in and said, this is it, take it or leave it. We've made major changes. This is just the zoning requirements showing that we're in full compliance with everything on the site. Kind of a global view down of the site. We're on the left here. With the 3 components. The top is the existing, middle is the taller section, which is 3 stories, and then the barn structure that is down close to the aqueduct. These are just some renderings showing how that massing actually works out. One of the 3 conditions was simplification of the structure adjacent to the aqueduct, which I think we have gotten as simple as it could possibly be. The only thing we've done to that, besides completely replacing the structure, is we've added windows. The siding will be the same, the pitch of the roof is the same. It is at the ridge 4 feet higher than what or 3'8" higher than what the existing ridge is. That is not to make it taller inside the structure. In fact, the structure itself is shorter than the structure currently is. That's to raise it up high enough that we can lift the cars underneath, because that was another one of those conditions, was that we would provide all the parking that's required on site. To do that, we have to be under the buildings. This is just those 3 together, which is probably just about everything that we need to show, unless you've got specific questions.
Well, you started off by saying that there was some request that you remove a story.
Right.
Do you have a scheme to show us tonight where we would look at that?
We, as we explained to the planning board, we've done the economics of the project. It does not work as 3 residential units. So the 4 residential units that we're requesting is what makes sense. We already have such small units that it's not as though we could take the 4 units and put them into the space of 3. These units are in the 800 to 900 square foot range. The village requires 600 square foot as a minimum for an apartment. So we're just about as small as you can make work. And it's, in our opinion, it sits in very nicely with the massing. It does not block anyone's views of the river or of the Palisades. It does affect sky views, as you're seeing the middle building looking over the 1-story garage structure. So we think it sits in well. If, the project that is across the street has been cited a number of times as an example of the kind of thing that we should be working towards. And the way we've massed this, breaking it up into 3 components, the only real difference is that our site provides parking, whereas the project across the street does not.
So seeing as this is not a full application at the time, what is the purpose of tonight's
The ideal is, as I understand it, is the board of, and we're in kind of interesting ground here, because there's been a lot of discussion about how the trustees would like to change the way the code works in the process, but it has not yet officially done that. One of the things that it has said it wants is projects to come before the Architectural Review Board prior to going to the Board of Trustees. What we have done is try to find the way of bridging between 2 different sets of rules, perhaps, the rules that apply right now, which we have to live under, and then what the rules will be. So we've come before you with the intent of showing you these things so that you can have an opinion about it, but we also have not played the card that somehow a decision that you make at this point is the end of your participation. Our expectation is that we would get some kind of recommendation to deny, approve, whatever it is that you guys think it is, and then we would go to the Board of Trustees. If we're successful at the Board of Trustees, we would then come back to the Architectural Review Board, talk about everything, basically. In fact, as I said before you got here, if you didn't like the shape of the roof or the material, that would not be a reason to say we don't recommend.
No, I understand.
Good.
So, let's assume that what I understand is that the planning board has some, is recalcitrant about going forward with this additional story. Ultimately, you would need or would sort of prefer to have, or any applicant really, if we're talking about a larger context, to have support of both groups, a recommendation from both the planning board and the architecture historic review board in favor of a project, and then that would go to the board of trustees, and ostensibly using our collective wisdom, they would use that as a tool to approve or deny.
Although they have denied.
So as we have a response from the planning board, not in favor of this particular scheme, does it serve anyone to move forward from our perspective? If you don't have the consensus of both boards, do we have a place to move forward with the board of trustees? Ed, do you have some sense about, I don't want to use a particular applicant as the guinea pig for a new process. I want to treat this applicant fairly and expediently where possible, but at the same time, there are these other issues that we want to try to resolve so that we can create a process that's both efficient, intelligent, sensible for everyone, boards and applicants, designers, architects. So I don't know what we do at this point is my concern.
This application is unique in the fact that it doesn't have a recommendation from the planning board and is before you as a referral and not an official application yet. So it's going to go to the Board of Trustees without a favorable recommendation from the planning board. What they do with it is, up to them. So for you really aren't going to make any official actions, but you could say, we like the architecture, or we don't like the architecture, or we would like the architecture if there was a story involved. It's your comments or just suggestions at this point.
Well, that part's easy. We're all, we've all looked at it. We all have a good sense about what we'd like to see, what we wouldn't like to see. I just want to sort of put this in a larger framework for Patty and all the neighbors who are here to talk about it. So I guess we'll just make some comments about the scheme we see, and ultimately, what are you, some sort of written
Yeah, I guess,
Thoughts?
I mean, it could be as simple as you saying we've reviewed it and we have no opinion at this time, which I don't think is an accurate representation.
No.
It looks like that sounds pretty good here right now. The idea is that if you've got an opinion, this gives you the opportunity to express it. Remember, the way this came about was because of a project that you received after the Board of Trustees had acted. And this board denied that application. So I think it's a very good idea that the village is figuring out a way to not have that be something that happens. This has the opportunity, I'll use that word, of having been the first project really of that nature that to warrant doing this, and I'm silly enough that I was willing to say, I'll be game, well, let's go to the architectural review board and see what they think.
All right.
It's not unique in that respect.
No, I
because
understand.
We do that all the time.
I was just trying to get a sense for what what this step in the process means for everyone, so. Well, then, have at it.
I can make some comments.
Any particular image you want?
No, in comments in general. First comment is I said it, I guess I wrote it to you in an email that I support our recommendations, Rob Lane's letter, that we worked together. I think it was valid recommendations and I still believe that correct. At that time, I recall that we didn't see this scheme. There was a different scheme in place.
Much bigger.
Yeah.
The height of the massing, I don't recall, but it was not that same massing on the second floor. I think it was with some dormers on the barn at that time
Yeah.
and a small tower,
Yeah.
which had a different impact on the overall massing scheme. So just because you mentioned, just to
Right.
make sure that we understand. Second thing, I accept your relationship to the aqueduct in terms of the barn to the aqueduct. It's fine. I appreciate that you're setting it back a couple of feet or more. Height of the eave and the aqueduct is acceptable to me. Ridge height is a little higher, but it's fine. I think it's in terms of sites and relationship is fine. What I'm not convinced is about the introduction of the mansard roof. It kind of seems foreign in terms of there are multiple roofing typologies. Let's say this one, the mansard, the flat, the barn. I think it's a little too much in terms of stylistic coherence.
Stylistically, but not necessarily massing-wise.
The problem is I need to see it to be convinced. So when you show it to me that it works, I would say I accept it. So far, it seems, especially in this image, right? When you see the barn coplanar with a,
They're not coplanar.
it's almost.
It is, it's close, but it's not.
You see it in this image, indeed.
Yeah.
Kind of, they collide. And there is a small, it's kind of the same problem that you have, let's say that, yeah.
I'm just getting to another one. Because of course, what we were, there was a lot of conversation about, I mean, I guess I could do it here. The building that's on the right-hand side of the street
Right.
was the one that was offered to us as what we should be aspiring to. And that one has.
Which one? You mean this one?
Yeah, that
Okay.
combination of forms was actually used as an example that we should be trying to find a way of breaking our massing up on, because if you remember, our initial design
Yes,
was
but
a
it's,
singular structure.
let's say that it's a neighbor across the street, it's a point of reference.
Right.
It's not an issue of copying it, or by all means, but relating to it, I think it's important, especially, and I think I was mentioning that I was curious to see the line of, one of my main concerns is the relationship of your scheme to the aqueduct.
Right.
And
this
to
was
the
that
street.
previous scheme that was much bigger.
Right. I don't see it, but okay. So going back to my comment, I don't think that it's the relationship of these buildings is successful. I think this kind of dominates the scheme and makes the barn and the relationship look strange. And the relationship here, I could live with it, but not convinced that the mansard roof works in this scenario. In terms of square footage, I'm not going to make any comment. If 4 units is your break point in terms of financials, it's not my place to question it. Of course, if you reduce 1 story, the scheme will work. But it's fine.
And I realize this might be, I'm insulting something that's been approved. When I look at the 3-story building on Cedar Street, the new structure where they put a lot of effort into the design of that building to try and make it a nice building, there's no doubt in my mind that that building looks a lot better if it's a 4-story structure. Right now, it looks disproportionate and squat. I had 2 people criticize me for my design, which I had to explain I didn't have anything to do with that building. So there are, different projects, different opinions.
Right.
Whether this seems massive with 3 stories, I don't think, everything you're saying about the relationship between the barn structure in the middle was where we were before. We had that tied together with the roof lines.
Yeah.
And that was what we were criticized for. And the recommendation was to greatly simplify the farm.
Criticized by me or by you?
You've never criticized, but comments that you had about greatly simplifying the building that's replacing the garage.
Okay.
So that was something we listened to, and we've done it.
All right. So
But
going.
I don't know if those things are mutually exclusive. I think you're right. There was a criticism about what we saw as an overly complicated scheme. Because one of the important points of that letter that Rob wrote, which came of a meeting, a work session between our board and their board, you were there, was that we maintain the barn sort of
Character.
Yeah, the character, right? It's sort of general massing, it's general aesthetic, and those schemes that integrated a roof line between that middle structure and the barn structure eviscerated the sense of the barn.
Independence.
And so in some respects, your comment's a little disingenuous because it's not as though we poo-pooed on your scheme. It was that it didn't meet our criteria.
You made recommendations, which I listened to.
Yeah, sure. And I agree with Yair. I think that the barn structure as it is right now, this thing, we all got to get these guys. It works really well, massing-wise, simplicity-wise. You're much better off with that roof line without all this mumbo jumbo off, on the aqueduct side. And I think the thing that's incongruent is this sort of top piece on
The
that.
detailing of the roof.
I think this is an important
Very-
distinction for you, because
Yeah.
I'm not convinced it's just roof detailing. It's
I'm
related to
trying to
massing.
make
If
you
you
say
can, of course.
Is there floor area in that overhang? I mean, why is it so heavy?
The actual.
Because I'm looking at the, is
Yeah.
this,
You're talking about this detail.
what is that? Yeah?
It's a
Yeah,
cornice.
that's
It's
like
just-
a
It's a
traditional,
cornice.
the kind of form that you normally have on a mansard, and you and I talked about this. Mansard is here because it was my 4th or 5th different roof concept. I have no commitment to that, so I could easily see playing with the way that roof form works. The important thing here is site plan, which has to do with a certain mass, and again, trying to put words perhaps in your mouth, but not figuring that that's a good idea. The idea that if you felt something was a design issue in the way the massing was dealt with, that would be very different than feeling that there was too much massing.
There's this sense right now that massing is simply about the detail of the roof, and I think that is the wrong assumption to make. I think that it's much more than that. So if the massing works for us, we're all on board. If the massing doesn't, you run into the same problem that we keep having. And I don't think it's I'm not, I can't tell you, you know, one way or the other, that it's just a question of the roof detail. I don't think it's just, I don't, you know, it's not just that relation, the wall's relationship to this, you know, trim board and this roof line.
It is the massing on that that doesn't work.
It's much more than that, yeah.
The mass-
Because it's
So
too
you-
tall, or because you don't like the shape? That's the
Everything.
difference.
It's a little
No,
bit of both.
no, everything. Also, you know, when EIA mentioned that stylistically you have too many roofs, you know, it's not just stylistic. Stylistic goes with the massing, the design, all of it combined together.
Right.
Everything doesn't work.
Too many rooms,
Too many
Types.
different, too many types, for
Okay.
sure.
not too many rooms.
No,
Well, you
too,
got 3 buildings, you got 3 roofs.
Right. So
Yeah,
too
no.
many roof types.
too many roof types.
Yeah.
And the massing on that fourth floor is just heavy, and the style doesn't work.
So since you have a long agenda, what would you like to do to bring it to a conclusion?
I think we would like to request that you assess the roof in respect to what the planning board has told you, what respect to what you've heard from us, and ultimately, I suppose you need a scheme that you're gonna present to the
We're,
board of trustees.
we're ready to go to the board of trustees and be denied if that's the direction they want to take. The situation here is we've got something that we believe works, it certainly complies with code, and as much as we can throw the word massing into that, and I agree that massing affects the detailing, I don't think there's any problem with the size of this. And I think that's the only thing that should be really being dealt with in terms of site plan review, because as we pointed out, this comes back to you, and the roof lines on this in the end could be totally different. There's nothing that precludes that.
Let's say you came back to us and we said to you, look, you really gotta cut back this roof so that it followed the geometry here, and you tell us, well, that doesn't work for that's not my client's pro forma. It doesn't work with our financial feasibility study because we're going to lose X amount of square footage under the roof line. So, you know, in a way, we want to prevent this conversation from happening in a month or two from now. So that you don't come back to us and say, well, we have this massing approved, you know, it doesn't, and we ask you for a different roof line and you tell us, well, it doesn't work anymore. You know, we're trying to prevent future problems.
I mean,
Okay.
what we're gonna do at this point is go to the board of trustees.
I understand.
The board of trustees may remand us back for further consideration.
I understand.
of the board,
So-
But I think we have been before the planning board for more times than they would like. So we have no intent of going back and appearing before them
Understood.
with a modified design.
Understood. Well, I think you've heard our comments. Anything else?
No,
Any
There's-
other elements? I mean, this,
No,
you know, there's this
I-
stair element that I know you sort of took
I will
critical on.
tell you that enclosing that balcony is definitely an improvement. I think I like the massing on that. I like the way it looks. If you can address the roof on the fourth floor, whichever way the fourth floor is addressed by the other boards, the massing, the style, none of it works right now.
If you want us to approve this massing, you have to convince us that it works.
I want you to have
And-
whatever comment you have.
And I think it's one of these things that it's either successful or not in terms of design. I'm not convinced that the way that it's presented, it makes it more of a problem than, it exacerbates the problems, not the assets. Now, however, I'm open-minded. If you come up with a scheme that works in terms of making it work, the third floor, what you call it, I'll give it a shot in looking at it. However, so far, I'm not convinced that it works. There is something that you do in this elevation, that you break it and there's a small setback, I see,
Right.
that you pick up the roof line of the barn and then you set it back.
Nice moment.
this could work. However, when you put the back here, it doesn't work here. And it kind of, on this elevation, on the rear elevation, it's totally disregarded that element of setback. So it's, I think there is a lot of design issues that need to be worked out, and there is a lot of potential for improvements. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. One thing, I mean, what you just said, I'm kind of wondering whether I misunderstood or.
Yeah, it did. Look at this. You see this line here?
Right.
It doesn't do anything in the back. In the back is,
What I'm wondering is if this came in, you could still see this, but this was not, I mean, we've tried to break it as much as we can. And maybe we've broken it more than it should. If this wall came back into here, would that be, so that you didn't see the gap between the two, would that be more legible?
it could be. I have to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
In general terms, I gave you my, positive comments. Negative comments in the middle. You need the square footage, I understand. You have to, the burden of proof is on you to make it work architecturally.
Okay. We're not before the architectural board at this point yet
Right.
for that, so we can understand that if we ever get there,
Yeah.
that would be of importance.
No action is required from us, so we will, are there any comments from the audience? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Next application, 75 Main Street. Did you get any?
Hey, Mike. She's back. Do you want to finish her? She's
While you set up, we're going to entertain 89 Mohican Park, which is a window retaining wall. I understand you have just a few moments, so we can deal with you. We can look at your application quickly. Hi, would you take the microphone and state your name, and then we'll get started.
Julia Kalmanson. I'm not sure how this works, so you're gonna have to guide me a little bit through the
Okay.
process.
Let's see. Why don't you just describe briefly what you're doing?
Absolutely. So we had an open porch that needed rebuilding because it was rotting, and we decided that we would screen it in by adding windows.
Oh, this is okay.
And the second part of the project is that we added a
It's done.
retaining wall that separates our property from next door. There used to be just a fence there, and there's a little bit of an embankment, and the dirt just kept being washed away.
Yes, I see, okay.
In the rain, and so we added a retaining
Yeah,
wall.
I see.
To
This
hold it
is
up.
what we're looking
Yes,
at.
that's what we're looking at. And the screened-in porch, basically, the existing structure stayed where it was, and we just added windows and a door.
This is legal relation. I mean, the retaining wall looks good. It was built, looks like it was built well, used good materials. And this is what you referred to as the porch?
Yes, this is the windows that were added, yeah, the porch, the front porch. This was open, the windows were not there.
Do you have any comments?
No comments?
I'm fine.
Fine, okay, we'll approve this application as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was 89 Mohican. Thank you for your patience. Let's get to 75 Main Street.
Good evening, I'm Ahrb. I'm the architect for the applicant. First part, just to walk you through the site. This is looking south diagonally from 100 Main.
hard to get 100 Main Avenue.
Yeah, be careful.
I've been brainwashed. Hey, 75 Main, at the corner of Chestnut and Main. Straight ahead. Diagonal corner looking north and down Chestnut. Okay, this is the later addition to the back of the Oceana building. The only part I want to point out is that these facades are coplanar. Looking back up Chestnut and north onto Palisade. Looking up from Palisade, walking up from the train station, see the rear addition only. This is the rear addition, existing rear addition. Still rear addition, diagonally across the street from it. Looking east and south. And that's the adjacent building next to the house. Okay. So. With that different project, this is the original building, though it was built back with simple fenestration, squared off, simple windows, and so forth. It's a winter shop, obviously. These are projects that we were looking at. This is in a World Heritage site, so the due diligence of an architect to design stuff in the World Heritage site is way bigger than on any landmark building. Here, very simple fenestration on top and at the bottom to the basement windows, solid windows, I should say. Nice. Similar building, the height. Again. We were looking at lighting, and so on two levels. One is to illuminate the back part of Chestnut, which is dark, and also a way not to spill light away and everywhere, every which way. So we like this, this idea with LED inserts, where you can focus inside the bay itself, illuminate it, have some light on the street, make it not sit that street. Glass addition. This is a synagogue in New York City. Again, the inserts, the elongated dead windows. Again, the building in its heyday. So now a proposal.
Arpad, would you like to use this?
Sorry, that would be awesome. Thank you.
And you can sort of stand in a place that they can see this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, this is the existing condition along Chestnut Street with the corner Oceana building and then the later addition to it. The front facade here, can you focus, can you zoom in on it, please? Yes. Our proposal is to remove the non-historic infill, replace it with the original configuration of the infill, get the same window configuration, clean the facade, pointed, roof, all the repairs that are required, especially along here, and the base itself. Remove the paint that was applied at a later date. And one other thing we're doing is we're removing the step at the far end, because the street slopes north, slopes south. And so it's the highest point. We want to get handicap access directly into the space. And that's going to be achieved by a pair of doors. You go in, there'll be a lift taking you up, and a lift taking you down to the cellar level also. And there'll be retail on the first floor, here, and here, up to this level, up to this point. There's a separate entrance here on Chestnut, which will be for the upper floors of the residential. And there's staircases that will connect it down. And additional retail will be along Chestnut. Can you see it?
Yeah, that we will.
Along Chestnut, along here. Then, just move back. The way we are dealing with the addition, we cut the bottom part of the older one-story addition here. We put in a translucent glass similar to the image I showed you about with the synagogue, a clear door. The idea too is that the staircase, the fire staircase, is at the face of the building, so people can use it to go down, and it's also an inviting place to use. It also, promotes health, etc. The rest of the addition, which comes back, will be a gym, and behind that there's a pool, which you'll see. The bottom part of the existing piece right here, we're using for a garage. There'll be 33 parking spaces for 23 units that are being proposed at this point. The garage will be 2 levels. One will be entered along Chestnut. Now let's go back. And then there'll be a door along Palisades, which will go in. Okay. And you can see the 2 levels of the parking referenced here. This facade, here, just pull it back a little bit, takes its cues from the existing building by bringing across lines of the existing building for here on top of the parapet, along here, intermediate cornice, at the base here, bringing it across, and so forth. We went to, let's just go to the last one. This is the elevation along Palisades. There we kept the cues from the building from Main Street. However, we introduced new lines which are reflected along here from the house. Okay. We went in front of the planning board 3 times since we've seen you. And you will see different iterations. The last iteration is the one we have here, which they saw 2 weeks ago. In that one, the original one, wait, let's go down. Yeah, these are 3D models of it. Let's just go quickly. Here you can see the simplified storefront, simplified windows, the glass addition, and here on this facade we step back our addition. The first step back is the 10 feet from the street, which is the existing. Just so you get a sense of scale, this corner from here to the top of this band here is 21 feet. The first part of the building is set back 10 feet, then again 10 feet, then again 10 feet. create this mass. This is an image of where we started with the planning board. So everything was straight up, then it moved back, and here's the final scheme, which is the one you're seeing tonight. Looking up Palisades towards the site, and here you can see the step backs. We were asked what kind of trees we would, planting we would have, because it's devoid, the image is devoid of the trees, which we tend to do for projects so that the trees don't obscure the architecture. So these are, you will see similar images with trees and without trees. Okay. Here you can see the corner where it was just, this part was flush, set back, then it was flush, set back, no overhanging corners at the roof, and now we have it more as a pyramid from moving in and back. Here, better image of it. Same idea. Here, where the original was, we step back, and these design changes came about by walk through the site, listening to the concerns of people in the community, maybe not 100% the way they want to hear it, and so forth. View from the top, you can see the setbacks, you can see the two different ways. With trees, the original, basically straight up with turned corners. Again, now we've carved them out to create that pyramidal shape. Straight on. Again, here, this is picking up the architecture from the building, from the side of Chestnut Street, where we have a residential entrance to the upper floors with trees. Again, here you can see moving back, first scheme, second scheme, present scheme, which you just saw. Again, 3D from the top, which you never would see, but here it shows the setbacks with the pool. Trees. Keep going, a little bit. Down the block with trees. The setbacks. The existing building is set back at the same level as the house. And our first level sets back 10 feet, and again 10 feet, and 10 feet again, as we talked about earlier, and that's what this illustrates, the site plan, and we're good. So there had been talk in the community about historic tax credits, as in, that will just make this deal economically. We're talking to Higgins and Quaysbarth, they're premier nationally known preservation consultants, and the problem with this building, to make it a historic tax credit, would be that historic tax credits have to be income-producing properties. So the moment you start to make the upper floors condominiums, they're not income-producing properties because someone's living there. So it's not like they're renting it. So, and this project is being projected as a condominium. We're checking the numbers if they work. So, but right now it looks very, very dubious that they work as far as historic tax credits. There's rumors about it being 6 stories. It's however you want to slice it, I believe it is. Based on planning, Brian Ahrb made testimony to the fact that the bottom 2 floors, which are now 2 floors, which is really 1 floor, it doesn't account in the scheme, and that 3 additional floors are permitted, which is what we have here, and a mezzanine. So that's what we have right now. I don't know. questions, comments?
Just one quick question on the elevation, the big door.
Yeah, on the
That's
front.
that's only for the
This one?
parking? Yes,
That door is
only for the parking.
just for the parking. And above it is there's a grating, there is a louver on top of it, an exhaust louver, which you wanted to bring in. It's also architecturally looks like something. I hope you can see it. No, you can't. But anyway, this is the louver here for the exhaust into. And the bottom is the roll-up grill. Sorry, roll-up grill for the garage door.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some kind of big picture issues that I would just like to point out. I mean, there's a question about parking,
Yeah.
which we don't really deal with here. And I know it's a major concern for a lot of people, and there are other, there's another board, there are other experts who deal with that. So I think the question of parking is not what we'd like to focus on here. There's a question of potential variance needed. Again, it's not a question that we really look at here. And there's a question of your program, which is sort of related to massing and a variance, which starts to spill over a little bit into the things that we do focus on. However, are the renovation of a historic building, and I think that if in an initial presentation, we were somewhat skeptical, and I think a lot of the community was somewhat skeptical about eliminating the current window muntin arrangement. So, but I think some of your, if you're proposing to have a sort of single light in those windows, and there is real historic precedence for that in this building, I think it's a thing that we will look at closely, both through our own research and through yours. So that's an issue we will address, and we will discuss in further detail here. I think the other critical issue is relating the new building to the existing building. And I think my opinion hasn't changed at all regarding the strategy of the connection between the two. I think it's the right approach conceptually. I think it's very hard to tell what the details are in that drawing, but when you point us to some of the images that inspired you, the synagogue, for example, I think it's the correct strategy. And then the third component, which obviously is important to all of us, is what the new portion looks like, architecturally and sort of at a finer scale, what the details are. I think that early on, you had a strong strategy, which were cut out at the corners. Now, this is irrespective of whether this relates to the neighborhood, right? Another bigger question, which is not divorced from how we approach things on this board. I'm a little sort of lukewarm on the ziggurat strategy personally, and I don't know how you get the right kind of area that you need, and it's not as though we're indifferent to the sort of financial strategy that make a project feasible or not. It's just not the primary function of this board. So I know Bill Higgins well, we deal with him a lot, and I'm sure you got some good advice from him. And the fact that there is a tax credit or not a tax credit, we're sort of like, we're sympathetic, but also ultimately the question is this building at the back designed in a way that is most beneficial to the community, irrespective of meeting some sort of target financial needs. So we're gonna kind of have to push that aside from our discussion for now and just focus on exactly what it is that you're showing us as architecture and whether or not we think that makes a lot of sense. So, I think the materials are kind of sort of the right strategy. I think I think your separation between the two buildings is the right strategy. I'm not 100% sold that the stepping relates well either to the existing building or, you know, I mean, it seems right now it's a kind of appeasement strategy, and maybe the smart move is to fill that out and take out a bigger portion at the top, or some other kind of strategy, so you can get your square footage and you can, you know, or, you know, something, you're never gonna get exactly what, everything you want, but, you know, you can find a smart place to compromise. So I'd just like to look at these three issues at this board, which is renovating the existing building, the relationship between the new and the old, and then maybe a kind of focus on the new building. I just want to put this in context for everyone, because I know there are a lot of bigger questions, and I know other boards are dealing with some of the other stuff, and I'd like to focus our attention.
Okay, so basically, I probably agree with everything that Michael said. I will also defer your decision if it's a cigarette or not strategy. It's up to you. I think both strategies work. I think the street can handle the massing. The building can handle the massing. And the relationship of the new and the old is successful. The facade, in terms of the it's, again, there is a precedent. I think the original building had the right strategy. It will bring a lot of light to the street. At night, will make it lively. Probably retail-wise works better. So I encourage the use of the original facade and going with your proposal. It's fine. My only comment was the parking entrance seems too grandiose for the street, and it's a parking entrance. If it was the entry to the building, I would understand it, but it's not. So I will tone down across the street from the church as such a, okay, just, and the, you know, I agree with what Mike said, so it's.
Our original design, which we liked, which was straight up that, and that's what we felt originally. So everything now has been just, you know, push, and molding. So that's how it came about.
I think the proposal is well thought out and successful. I will let you decide, and when we come to our board, we will review it properly. But
I think it's going in the right direction. It's the marriage between the old and the new is quite successful, as Michael said. I agree with the Ahrb about that opening on Palisades where the garage goes in, if you can look at that. Maybe there's some other solution on that. That side looks a little weak, but other than that, I think it's going in the right direction.
Anyone have comments from them? Please come up. Please state your name when you come and take the microphone.
Bruce Richards, 153 Main Street. I sent some things out, but when we're talking about non-historic infill, I'm concerned that, you know, the building in 1926 is where I'm going from, and is what it is now. And I believe that this building, which was there was Colonel Brown, for some of you know, historically, he sort of was a philanthropist of the city, of the village. He donated the village library, and he also, if you've not the land, a lot of this building. And I feel that this building's design in 1926 was keyed off the Oceana building with the arcs and the filigree, and trying to make it a little dressier than going back to a mercantile building that looks something out of the meatpacking district. And that's, I mean, I think it's a good project. I think I'm not against it. But at the same time, if to strip off all that arcing and all that sort of softening of that industrial front and return it back to a granary disbursement place, I don't think is very good. I don't think it helps the design, and it also takes away from existing buildings on Main Street, particularly this one, as well as the 81 Main, which is a bank building, which also has that little arc in the central facade, which ties it together. I mean, I'd really like to see something that helps tie the village Main Street together, as opposed to just making it into an anchor store at the end, and all of a sudden there's this big bump before you kind of get back down to the residential areas. And to make it so that it is more consistent with the front, I think is more interesting, because the design now, especially with the step backs, makes it to me, there's a building at the corner of Riverside Place in Palisades, which has a brick lower areas and has been built up sort of piecemeal. It has that kind of Italian look, which I don't think is the best look for the Palisades Street. So but my main concern is disallowing the dentures to be taken out of that, and then putting this sort of post and lintel kind of industrial face back on it. Thank you.
Please.
My name is Kane, South Lawn Avenue. When I looked at the picture that Bruce showed me, and you know, the wonderful curved lines, something that we've all grown up with, or not me because I wasn't born here, but when I came and saw that beautiful building with the curved lines and the little half moon look, and I assumed that was going to be saved by the new designers, but it isn't. Why take away something that was beautiful and graceful, and a design that was handed to you? Just copy it. Just make it look the same as it was, only make it functional inside. But to lose that lovely facade, I don't know whether I told you before, I was walking, when I was working in London, walking across Lincoln's Inn Fields, and there was a little sign that just caught my eye, a sign about this big, and it said, Oceanic Press, Dobbs Ferry. And I thought, here I am in London, and it brought back the image of those lovely curved half moon, sliced like an orange, looking graceful and wonderful. And it made me a little homesick for Dobbs Ferry while I was living in England. But it was that look, you know, we realized that there has to be some kind of use of that building. But to walk away from its beautiful quality seems to me outrageous. And the other thing is, the last planning board meeting I was at, a gentleman sitting 2 steps away from you said, it's just too big. Well, it still is too big. You know, making the steps back doesn't seem to me to make it less massive. It still is too big, because I remember when he said that, there was a general approval in the audience, and from Steve Tilley too at the time. It was just too big. I don't understand why we are continuing to accept something that is just too big and loses the lovely half moon design that is so agreeable. Thank you.
This may work, it may not. My name is Peggy, I live at 12 Chestnut Street. Okay, if you'll cut the light off, you'll be able to see this a lot better. Yes, please, thank you. A little more, this one right here. That's our view in the winter, and that's the view from the aqueduct. If you build this building in the back, you're gonna take that out, just about all of it. And that would be dreadful. And it will set a precedent. Once that building goes, and you build something that big, every little house on that street is in danger.
And you've got to think about this. We live in this fairy tale village. We're 30 minutes from the biggest city in the universe. And we're trying to hold on to something precious. And it's hell because all of these developers want to come and take it away because they can make money. They're doing it for profit. We've lived here for almost 40 years, and we've had that view for 40 years. And we love that building, and we love that view. And I hope that you will think about several things. First of all, the zoning code. The zoning code doesn't allow a building that tall, does it? I mean, how high? Forget the number of floors, but what is the overall height you can build on that street? Do you know? You'll tell us next time, won't you? Okay, I'm sure it's not that high.
They can't build what they're proposing.
They
There's
cannot build
There's a
what they are
request for a
proposing.
zoning change.
Well, then, for God's sake, do not give it to them. It will,
Well,
the zoning board should not give it
Peggy,
to them.
just, I mean, this is,
You're
it's
not
not
the one
that, it's
for
not that
that.
we don't understand your concern, it's just that, it's just simply not a question that we
You
can
deal with it.
answer
All right,
here
then
for
let's
you.
talk
And,
about the width of the building.
Sure, let's
So
talk about
the
one of three things here.
Okay.
And this is why I started off this conversation this way,
Okay.
or this application. Let's talk about how the proposed renovation of the existing building is taking place, what the connection is, and what the new building is. Because and I know the new building relates to your question about height, but ultimately, it's not a question that we're gonna
No,
answer.
it's
Another board is gonna
okay.
answer that, and if
Okay.
it, if there's some sort of spillover, we'll
Yours
discuss
is
that.
just aesthetics, am I correct?
Well,
Basically.
you've been around some of our meetings, you know,
There's
there's
basically
some
aesthetics.
spillover.
Well, there's several things that the new owner should think about. You know, the community that's already in place. We are a huge artistic community. We're very visual, and we like the way things look. And if you're going to live here, you're going to have to fit into that community. And you can't just be isolated. I mean, you can't. You be isolated up there all by yourself. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope that you will not allow them to build it that wide or that tall. It's a bully of a building. That's the best way to describe it. This design is a bully. It overwhelms all of the other little houses on that street. And so far, the tallest building, I think, is about 3 floors. And, we have a variety of buildings there, as you can see in this village. As I said, it's a fairy tale village.
Thank you.
Hi. This will not be obstructed because that's where the house is. This is the house.
Okay, how high will your building go?
Our house, oh
What's your
my God,
drawing that you flashed
will
down?
go this tall, okay? And it co-planar here.
Look at the drawing that you showed us.
Which drawing?
You put one up in the beginning, so just show me.
Okay, thank you for responding. I don't want to turn this into a debate about exactly where it falls, but we understand both points. Anyone else? Aye.
Mike Merrill, 32 Walnut Street. Sort of to her point, I look at the buildings and I think they look fine in just about any city. And I don't have any problem with renovations. I do that to my own house. What I would bring up is the back portion, which is a change. And I'm assuming that part of the reason that you're not talking about massing is because that would require a change in the zoning code before it could be allowed. Do I have that right? I mean, because if we look at the pictures, right, the simple one is looking at this right here, and to me, it looks a lot like Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the others. The entire rest of Palisade Street is residential. right? This is not Dobbs Ferry residential, right? This is either Broadway zone or, like I said, a city, right? Which architecturally may be fine, but once you start that on Palisade Street, is the idea to make Palisade Street industrial? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Suzanne Zenzo, I've lived on Palisade Street for 40 years. I'm not as articulate as the preceding people, but I profoundly agree with what they say. The size and character of that particular proposal is just not suited to the current Palisade Street. I can't say it as well as they did, but remember what they said, it was great. Thank you.
This is still referral, Ed, so no action required. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your presentation. Let's move on to 12 Livingston Avenue.
Adi.
Good evening, board. My name is Uzziah Cooper, architect, representing Toby Russell and Annalisa Corrales. The project in question, I'll start with the floor plans. The nature of this project is a simple second floor addition. The client objective was to move the bedrooms that were in the basement or in the cellar level up to the second floor, that all of the bedrooms would be on the same level. So we have a master bedroom shown here, 2 bedrooms out the rear, and we extended the existing staircase up to the second floor. All right, so the elevations, we basically kept the existing character of the home, which is shown in this picture here, and also here front elevation. So we kept the existing character and basically just raised it a level with a cantilever out the front, with keeping the same siding, the wood clapboard vertical siding, adding some AZAC trim, white AZAC trim to spruce it up a little bit. But we kept the same gable at a 5/112 pitch and just extended the home. So in extending or in raising the home, that story, we seem to have an issue with the sky exposure plane. So most of the other homes in the area, you can see this home here, next to our home, next to the home in question, and this property here, they're all 2-story or larger homes. And so to go from a 1-story, basically a raised ranch, and then to the sky exposure plane cutting into that addition in that way, we feel that the character or the spirit of the sky exposure plane, or the spirit of the neighborhood or the code, is to keep the houses in the existing neighborhood alike. You know, it's to stop the growth of larger construction, outgrowth construction. And so this home would still be one of the smaller homes in that neighborhood with this addition. So we feel that in this proposal that, and you can also see on the, down here, that the home next to us on the left-hand side cuts the sky exposure plane on 2 sides, and the other home cuts it on the left-hand side. So this addition or this proposal is not out of character in the neighborhood, and that is what we feel. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Well, we have, this is a sort of complicated example, and the reason is that, in the sky exposure plane regulation, as I have come to understand it, is not intended to prevent someone from having a 2-story house on a zoning compliant piece of land. And we've seen some examples recently where an applicant came before us and we granted a waiver based on some kind of hardship of the sky exposure plane. And then, again, in this, when you analyze existing houses that predate this part of the code, you find that a lot of them are in violation of it. The thing about this particular application that has us, kind of questioning what, the sort of logic is that the house is on the site is justified to one side of the property. And when we look at the available volume on the site where you could add square footage, which is, you see, to the left of your image, there is potential for you to add square footage in a part of the property and as an addition that either would not impede on the sky exposure plane or would do so in a much more modest way. And so our question for you is, ultimately it's the applicant's, the applicant has to prove to us that an alternative plan, an alternative scheme is not feasible or is really not desirable from a design perspective. And so, that in our minds right now, what we see is, in this kind of hatched area, a fair amount of volume in which one could work and not violate the sky exposure plan. So, you know, that's really, that's the kind of, and there's some initial thoughts on what you're doing.
Okay.
Have you looked at this other issue?
Yes, well, we looked at it diagrammatically, and just in terms of that pie shape, you know, at the back, that's not really a helpful square footage area. So to add, you know, just in this portion, would have been about 400 square feet, but it also doesn't help us to bring all of the bedrooms on one level, because instead of adding just a second floor, now we have to add a first floor and a second floor with basement or crawl space, which is, you know, a much larger project. So, you know, we're being punished or you know, we're being handed a disadvantage. Just we can't raise our second floor just because of the sky exposure plan.
I guess I agree with Michael. Before we grant you penetration of the sky exposure plane, I think you have other options available that they have to be exhausted. You need to try them. I think that the fact that the house, the lot size is the lot size, or that precedes this, you know, when you bought that land, you bought it with the zonification that it is, and the sky exposure plan existed also. So all I'm trying to say that we believe that this house has a lot of potential, design potential, that still needs to be investigated before we decide that this is the only solution. And I agree that, you know, putting a second floor, a third floor, whatever it is, second floor, it might make sense, but we would like to see another iteration with the, you know, exploring the other possibility.
Keep in mind, if, you know, the goal of the project was to add, to move, you know, really our kids' bedrooms from not being on the basement or ground level to be more above ground and on the same level as the master. With using that part of the yard, we would not be able to achieve that objective. Also, that side of the home is you know, there's a stairwell here, and so it's cut in half. So you wouldn't actually have as many possibilities.
I can spend a few minutes giving it at least 3 or 4 alternatives that they would work.
Yeah.
Doing exactly what you wanted to achieve.
With the you mean building a first and a second level?
Yeah.
You don't
The
necessarily.
second level here would be, I guess, essentially what you're asking us to do is move the house over. And that's a much more expensive endeavor than what we were going to do was use modular construction to add the second level. It could be done very quickly with minimal disruption to the neighborhood. And it would just be added directly onto the existing home. We weren't going to raise it any more than necessary. For example, the proposed second level has 8-foot ceilings. We're not asking to do 9, 10, 11-foot ceilings here. We're doing the minimum, you know, to raise it and add that next level. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the home, and maybe we should switch to, sorry, let's just switch to the other PowerPoint. Yeah, so the home that's right here, that fronts Broadway, their view to towards the river is between our house and the neighboring house, a little bit from the upper floor of this part of their house. So I don't know, you know, how that would impact them to move that direction. But I have contacted the neighbors that are directly across Broadway and this neighbor here, and they've both written you emails directly, which you should have in the file, that support this project. So the person across Broadway behind us said that currently her house at 174 Broadway, it backs up to the aqueduct. There's a row of evergreens. This is the view from her house. There's a row of evergreens that she said block her view of the river and of our home. So she said for us to add a level would not affect her view at all. And she wrote you a note that says she fully supports this expansion. Also because it would not increase the density of the neighborhood since it will still remain a single-family home. Also, the neighbors to our south have indicated that they looked at the plans with the sky exposure breach that we proposed, and they have no objections. So they wrote each of you emails. And I just wanted to point out, you know, our home on that block is one of the only ones, aside from the neighbors to our south, we're the only one-story home. So, you know, the homes across the street have at least 2, if not 3 stories. The homes to our north also have at least 2 stories, as you can see. So what we're trying to do to keep this cost effective and keep our investment is make this an affordable addition. So if we were to build a first and a second story on this side, it'll be significantly more expense, time, construction time, time that we're out of our home and probably living somewhere else as well. Whereas with the modular construction, they can build it, you know, in a factory and bring it over here, and we would be out of our home for just a matter of weeks. And it would significantly impact the cost of the project. So from a practicality perspective, I understand you may have other ideas, but you know, I would ask that you take that into consideration. Thank you.
We are taking.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, and I should just also mention that, you know, I understand the task before you is on SCP. As you know, I know that part of the code fairly well at this point. But, you know, it asks you to look at whether this project is, with the modification, is consistent with the purpose of this section of the code, which looks at preserving the character of the neighborhood and the integrity of the architecture, and I think this proposed project can do all of those things. Thank you.
The suggestion I was going to make was you don't necessarily need to build on the first floor. You can still build the second floor, keep this design. And the first floor does not have to be constructed. It can be like a covered porch. You don't lose the yard. It might be an attractive design if you want to consider that. I think you might want to look into options, as Eir and Michael both mentioned, to see what's feasible.
I'm not sure. Yes, the line of this guy is right. So if you take the stairs and go here, put it outside, and create a hole here, and 1 room, 2 rooms, and maybe a dormer for the third. That would work. Just a second. Modular is not necessarily, this scale is not necessarily more, less expensive.
We did get a few quotes from Stickville and Modular, and
So the contractor,
$100,000 difference.
I will look at that. Yeah, the modular will work at a scale. In this case, I don't think it makes such a big difference.
So you-
But that may be wrong, I don't know, I'm just saying that.
You guys need some microphones so that.
Yeah, well, I was trying to show you there are a lot of other options that we
But
can
this
do.
dorm is on,
Adormer is a permitted
Allowed.
structure,
Yeah,
like, up to 33%.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
we can use it.
yeah, grab it, yeah. Okay, well,
I would just note that before engaging the modular company to look at this issue, we did, I just wanted to state for the record, we did look and we spoke to a couple of other builders and architects to look at alternative ways to add the square footage that we wanted. I don't have copies of those alternative plans that we looked at with them. But in order to make this a cost-effective project, we did find that the modular route was the most cost-effective by over $100,000, so.
and, this comes up from time to time, a sort of an ultimate feasibility from an owner's perspective based on financing. And it's not that we're indifferent to that concern. I mean, we all live in the village. We all live in here, we do work on our homes from time to time, and it's a real issue. You can't do it because it costs a certain amount of money. The kind of impediment at the moment for us is that we have a codified concern, which is how to address a sort of reasonable waiver of the sky exposure plane, and none of those things relate to your economic
Yeah,
concerns.
that I
They
totally
relate to a
understand.
number of other things.
Yeah.
And it's not as though we will dismiss that entirely. It's just that the three of us at the moment are of the opinion that there could be an alternative that may cost you a little bit more than you want to spend, but maybe ultimately get you something better than what you initially thought you would get,
Yeah.
and that could work within the constraints or very close to, or closer to the constraints of the sky exposure plane regulation.
Yeah, I mean, we're
So-
still reaching in our proposal less than our neighbor, but I get what you're saying, which is the code asks that we make best efforts to comply and to make the minimum modification.
Yeah.
My other concern though, aside from the other things I mentioned, is the view of the neighbor. Because right now, we have the full consent of, of all the neighbors, including the one to the north, the Amboni household. So I think if we were to build towards the north side of our home, it's going to negatively impact the river view for those people, and I think that was part of what we were trying to avoid. The way our house is sort of sunken in just like backing up to a little hill, makes it so that, and with the trees behind it, makes it so that we actually don't hurt anyone's view or hurt views from the aqueduct. And I guess we'd have to look at whether expanding to the north would do that, because that was the last thing I wanted to do. As you know, it's an issue that's near and dear to my heart, so we're trying to do the minimum in terms of impacting views.
How about this? Can we at least conceptually, you don't have to produce full-scale drawings, but conceptually investigate the options that I think they are available in terms of being cost efficient and trying to work within the constraints of the sky exposure plane to the maximum of your best abilities. I would also, if you can get us reputable quotes of people that they say that the stick building for the scale it's cost efficient, will help also make a decision. And I will walk the neighborhood again to make sure that the views are considered, the way that you guys describing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did look at a few options, and we just didn't think that they were aesthetically pleasing.
Okay.
I could show you one.
Let's try. I can imagine, I can think of aesthetically pleasing options
Right.
also.
Well, aesthetically pleasing with meeting the budget.
Meeting the budget.
I think that sort of sums it up.
Yeah.
Let, is that clear to application?
I understand that you've asked us to look at alternative designs. I think that part of it, getting quotes from alternative companies may cost money. I just don't know.
You mentioned that you had the
Yeah.
the quotes with
No, I have
100,000
the prior quotes, but it was for this plan as well.
I'll take it from this one.
Okay.
Not,
I mean, primarily, we're interested in seeing what the potential alternatives are and what those mean for the site, for the elevation from Livingston, from Broadway, and I think there are a number of components that this might affect, so. I think we just want to entertain those other possibilities before we make the final decision. And I don't think you need, I think you can do this kind of diagram. This is for the architect, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I think you can do this kind of diagram, maybe plan diagram. I don't think, we don't need to see a full set for that kind of study. And I think that along with a sort of second assessment of the neighborhood will help us make a sort of more intelligent decision as we go forward. To make a motion, we continue this to the next meeting. Yeah, your seconds, unanimous, thank you. 39 Manor House Lane.
Major architect design. This is really simple. They want a dormer in the royal elevation. This is the existing first floor and the existing second floor. They want to add a dormer in this area above this room. They want to move
Yeah, very, very, very clear. I don't think, I think we are all on this board perfectly okay with this. So just, and I'm sorry if I'm rude, I don't want to cut you off if you have a wonderful presentation, but you probably just want to get out of here. So I'd like to make a motion, we approve this application as submitted. Do I have a second?
On the construction documents, make sure to see if violated wall separation.
Yeah. Ed, I'm sorry, is there some, do you have a?
I just design.
So we make the motion.
Where the party hall is fire, show the fire rated detail.
Continue with the motion.
That's it.
I'll second.
Yeah, your seconds, unanimous, thank you.
Good luck.
122 Judson Avenue, please. Anyone here for Judson? No? Let's see, this is the fence.
Can we approve it?
No problem with me, you can approve it in that stage.
Yeah. I'm okay with this.
Thank you.
Ed, any issues with 122 Judson's fence?
Not quite sure where it's going.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
they
a
didn't
good
show
point.
that on the site plan.
Let's see the site plan.
Yeah, they didn't show where it's going.
All right, so we continue.
Yeah, I really need that information.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion, we continue this application to the next meeting. And if the applicant is at home watching this on TV, please resubmit a plan, a site plan showing where the fence is going to go. Thanks. Second? Yair, unanimous. 3 Scott Street. No one here from Scott Street. This is another fence.
This one is pretty simple. It's just around it, nothing in the front yard, 2 sides, and the back and side. It's compliant, the black chain link, doesn't break the front plane of the house.
Yeah. Well, we'll make a motion to approve this as submitted. Second, do we have a second? EIR seconds.
Approved.
All in favor? Unanimous. 15 Laurel Hill Road, please.
Good evening, my name is Charles Sadney. I'm the architect for 15 Laurel Hill Road to legalize an existing wood deck. The deck is natural wood, it matches the siding of the original house. The deck is being legalized because the original construction drawing showed no deck at the rear, even though the 1967 survey shows an enclosed porch at the rear. So since there's a discrepancy there and the owner's trying to sell the house, they asked me to provide drawings to legalize the deck. The deck cannot be seen from the street. The 2 neighbors that it affects is the neighbor directly behind and the neighbor to the right.
Listen.
It's fine.
Motion that we approve this as submitted. There are seconds. Unanimous. Thank you. 36 Highland.
Ed Mammon for Jonathan Blocks, 36 Highland. We're legalizing this brick deck, which is made out of pressure treated material, stained cedar. New work will include new posts and a new beam, railings are the same.
Yeah.
Screens are all
Very straightforward. A motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah, your seconds.
Approved.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
56 Judson.
Bob Rich, 56 Judson Avenue. Excuse me. We're replacing an existing fence that's wood, putting in vinyl. It's going to be the same color as the garage door and my front door.
I have no issue. I mean, normally I don't see anything like this, a price quote. And I gotta, yeah, I mean,
Fence
just
companies
since it was, you know, and this is really none of my business, but I gotta ask because it's here. $200 more and you can get cedar. Seems like a win, like a no-lose situation for you. But maybe you want the vinyl. I have no issue with the vinyl. We approve it all the time. If that's what you want, that's fine.
I was just told that by the gentleman that I was sitting next to, you should put cedar, but.
Yeah, I mean, I spent $200 more and put cedar in my, but I don't know, whatever, you know. It ages well, you know, as I'm like, sort of pick up some of the, outdoor sort of colors inside. It's a nicer material, but ultimately it's up to you. We'll prove it either way. Motion to approve. Second.
Approved.
Approved. So we're approving vinyl, although maybe we will not. You will not have to come back to us for cedar. Have a good night. 59 Grandview. This is a change to Grandview.
That's the change I wanted to suggest.
What, the window?
No, the sloping roof.
Yeah. Yeah. Believe it or not, we actually look at this stuff.
It took a long time today.
Please go ahead, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening. Neil Squall for Jude Westerfield. Jude apologizes for not being here today. She had an emergency, so she wasn't able to make it. Basically, what we have, first of all, we're in total compliance from a zoning point of view. This was in error. It was 19.3, should have been 20 feet to make it compliant. What we're proposing in the cloud, we want to put a extra bathroom. Jude's father is pushing 90. We want everything on the first floor, on the ground floor at grade level. So in the event he uses a wheelchair, this is accessible from any part of the house or the patio in the back. The reason we came out with that, all the utilities, the waste line, cold water, electricity, all concentrated here. We couldn't go out this way only because we would have destroyed the cabinetry of the current kitchen. The hall here is accessible, it's wide enough to be accessible by a wheelchair. And we have a walk-in shower with a bench, the toilet, and the sink. And that's the essence of the design. Originally, this roof is a shed roof. Originally, this too was a shed roof. All I did was to extend the shed here maintain the same line and put the bathroom here and a short hall connecting. You can see here the roof line for both sheds are the same pitch, 2 and 12. Here too, the pitch is 2 and 12. Everything is on the first floor level. And from the patio at grade, you can get into the house without going up the ramp.
So I think, I mean, I don't see any issues at all here. I think the only comment I had, which is really not contingent on an approval, is that it seems to me might be sort of nice to add a window in plan between the vanity and the shower, and thereby kind of extending on the left, what you're calling the left side elevation, the window line along the lower floor. It might add a sort of
Just a single window.
welcome natural light into a new area, to the new addition.
Right here.
Yep.
Here?
No.
Here.
See the light?
Here?
Yeah.
Okay. Easily done.
Done.
Just a single window would do it, and you'll get nice light in the bathroom then.
Just
Good. Good idea. Very easy.
Okay. Motion to approve with the addition of a window to match the others.
Second.
Yeah, your seconds, all in favor, unanimous? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
89 we looked at, 78 Briar Road, please.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Rogers, Associates, Architects, and Engineers. The presentation that you received is really for two major items to this particular house. I don't know if you have a current picture of the existing house, but it's valid to look at it.
Thank you.
Because it's kind of plain, and it's telling of how we went about the change. This is the side. So it's important because of the angles and how the angles affected the final product, which is here. Anyway, the site is nestled between the two neighbors, and we're doing additions to the house. We're putting a front door and a rear door, but we're also doing an extensive amount of work to the rear patio. This will end up being the front, and as you can see, I don't have a picture for everyone to see of the existing house. But the existing house has no charm to it at all in terms of volume. The volume of the house is rather a simple box. We're adding a front entrance, and we're adding a dormer on the second floor, partial second floor. Right now, we don't have full height. That's why we're doing extending the dormer. This is the view as you come to the side. We are also, as it presently sits, the house main entrance is this side entrance, which I've added to. We're creating a new entrance here. The existing present entrance to the house is here, but we're providing both the side entrance and a new front entrance, which it never had. As you come around the side, we took the existing roof pitches as the demarcation point for what we will do with the dormers. We didn't want to introduce a new angle, so we followed the many trial and errors. We felt comfortable with this, even though it's an angle that would not be chosen normally, but it works because it repeats itself in a pattern that it's quite acceptable. Now you can see the entrance here a little bit better. We have storage against the wall and glass on top, so that particular area is not dark. There's a door here and a door leading to the back. You can see the beginning of the stairs that goes to the very elaborate back.
And I'm seeing that. So the pergola, in fact, is continuing the line of the roof.
Yes, that is correct. This pergola continues here, yes, correct. And as you can see, the linking of the existing levels in the rear was a real challenge, and we tried to do it in scale and with the proper path and proper logic. This is a view from above, showing you how the linkage is done. Now we tried to be a little playful here and give the master bedroom, which is this new dormer in the back, an access to the deck. So we created a bridge, small bridge, giving access from the master bedroom to the back. This is the view from the rear. And this is also, there was a requirement to be able to go around the back of the house, as well as providing light to the existing rooms that are now the so-called lower level, right here. These windows exist now, so we have to provide enough light and ventilation, and a storage area underneath the deck. This is the cooking area at the bottom. So we integrated, I think successfully, the rear yard use, the linking to the house, as well as the allowing of light to the existing. This is the view from the master bedroom going out to the deck. And this is a drone view. That's again an aerial from the front. That shows the dormer. So here you have the three masses. You have the dormer in the front. You have the roof. It continues. That gives us just enough height to have a very comfortable entrance. Again, the lights from the side, same pattern as we used here, and a new entrance on the side. There's another animation.
That's the same one you opened up again. Close that. And see there? Yeah.
Oh, this one, all right.
What is that? Produced there?
This is a 3D animation of the same pictures you saw. That's coming up, and then we'll take you to the right and around to the back. That will be the new front entrance. And that would be the route to the back. These steps are there now. We're not building that. That's an existing condition. Yeah, the materials are all the same. The brick veneer stays, and we're doing hardy plank on a gray tone with white or gray trims. We're not sure about the trim. I think we're going to stay with the gray trims. We have 10 options. And the rest is simply the masonry that holds back the planters and We try to also keep the railings very light, no heavy wood, very light, so you can, I think I like it. I didn't want to have a heavy feeling on the vertical side, and that's it. By the way, these platforms, proposed platforms, are within inches of the existing grade, so we're not really disturbing, excavating, creating steps. These steps are there. If you, I don't know if you visited the site, but we're basically building, the section tells you, you can see on the section where the existing grade is and how it follows grade. The owners are here in case you want to ask them a question.
Well, would you just go over, there's an A and a B scheme, really.
Yeah, 5A and 5B.
Well, the reason why the pyramid wall that you have, one of the drawings shows the upper corners of the roof being impacted by the wall. And I did two drawings. One, I think the board has the right to allow
Which one do you prefer?
that transgression. I prefer the one that I'm showing without the cut corners.
Which is A.
Yes, A. But given the comment said, show the board the two options.
I agree with the selection.
Yeah, but there is a sketch
Where
in
is
here
the
that shows
second
a sketch.
one?
Well, there's 5A and then 5B, so
Yeah,
there's
I
a roof
see that.
line that's modified here.
I think what council trying to do with
With the straight lines, yeah. I understand the intent of the law, but in this case, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, so we have a,
And then it will-
it's really a minor.
yeah, we have this area, which is pretty minor, and this area, which is pretty,
Yeah, it just is the reach of the board.
yeah, it's,
Go for the consistency.
yeah, it's weird without, to cut that off. Well, regarding the sky exposure plane issue, this is the kind of thing that allows us to make a very clear assessment of the value of the regulation versus what sometimes how it impedes, sort of smarter design. So I think it's pretty clear to all of us that the scheme A, which is the one which has a minor encroachment into the sky exposure plane, is preferred architecturally, sort of geometrically, it's a better solution. So I think we're all in favor of that. In a way, it's kind of it's sort of you adopted the most complicated strategy, which was to follow those roof lines. I think the side elevation I really like this side elevation where you continue this, you kind of play a lot with roof lines. Although my question is, and obviously we haven't looked at this in the same way you have, but is there any benefit to you just simply like adding a whole nother story to this in a way that could sort of gain you what you're looking for without the complicated
Well, because the
acrobatics?
house already has a half a level, there's the main floor, and then you come up 4 steps to a level, and then 3/4 of a floor to another level. So it's an existing design. All I've done is stepped the rear 8 feet above the existing rear bedroom. So it's the least disturbance to the house, and they have 5 or 4 children. 4 children, and that's part of the.
And then upstairs, the roof is sloped.
Yeah, the existing roof in the front is this plane.
Yeah.
So there is a spot, maybe 5 feet, where you can have full headroom, but the rest goes down to the plate. So it's useless. It's a useless place.
Yeah, I can see that here. Yeah, we see it. You still have the sort of dotted line in the section.
On the elevations, you show these columns, are they engaged columns?
Where?
These, which don't show up on your drawings, these
No,
columns?
no, that's a corner. They're not here. And
Yeah, they're not in the render.
I have a wonderful older Polish woman that loves to aggrandize corners, and I didn't catch that drawing, but that's not there.
Okay.
I
It
love her,
just
but
seems,
she loves corners.
yeah, it seems
She
far
gets in
into the
trouble all
house,
time.
so,
Yeah, it doesn't go.
okay.
So the columns are off.
No.
So we just have a simple corner, like maybe it's articulated with a change in the direction of the material.
So, yeah, maybe.
I was about to mention drawing to correspond to it.
Yeah, it's clean.
So I just have one more sort of minor issue, and this has to do with the section at the right at the back of the house where you come down slightly and then you pop up for a retaining wall with some storage underneath.
It's a working surface for a barbecue.
Where the walkway is?
Yes, so
It's-
here,
Yeah.
like
It's
this
established a
section.
high wall within the walkway, but it's the only way I can get the barbecue. And I didn't want to put the barbecue against the garden side, because that would be like celebrating it to the max. I wanted to de-emphasize it and bring it closer to the house. But I still have enough light coming in to the lower floors, even though I have that.
Just architecturally, I would say that by bringing that height of the masonry wall up, you are sort of exacerbating the fact that that walkway is narrow.
Well, it's 6 feet. It's a comfortable areaway to, but it's not for a
It just went
daily.
down and it was just a railing.
It's not for a daily walk. It's simply a place to store some furniture over the winter. But it's not really an areaway that people will use back and forth. It'll be a very secondary areaway, in my opinion.
It's not something that we would have an issue with in terms of, architectural review board, but I think that I would just suggest to the clients,
Well, it was
they
part
may
of
want
their, it was part of their wish, of course,
Okay.
for additional storage, and it was certainly, that was their input, yes. They love it. They're very excited about it.
good luck.
And I made them wait this whole year. We should have submitted this 3 months ago.
Oh, we wouldn't have, we weren't here for 2 months anyway. so-
All right. I did the 3D because I think it was difficult to show the whole access, the relationship between the front and the back. It's a very complicated lot.
No, it's very nice. I mean, it's extremely clear when you do a fly-through like that. What's happening. Any comments?
No, just correct the drawings to reflect the, what's really happening, the columns are not in place.
Well, I mean, I think we can,
Yeah,
we
just
can
approve
just,
it, just amend the drawings and approve it.
We'll take it.
we will make a motion to approve as submitted with some, minor change to, I think this is the right elevation, the corner showing the embedded column, the pilaster to be a simpler detail.
Right. We select the option
Option-
5 of 7, whatever it is.
Option A of the two, which
The uncut roof.
which has a minor encroachment in the sky exposure plane, which we're gonna waive for this application.
It's page 5 of 7.
And then there's an additional, there's also 6A and 7A.
The
Thank you.
You're the second? Yeah, your seconds, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Do you wanna keep this copy? Useful for you? We just throw
And
it in
you
the
can get
trash if
pictures.
anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. 496 Broadway.
Brendan Belvey, 496 Broadway, owner. You guys have the plans, right?
Yeah, we should.
So basically what I did was I swapped the garage doors, and I moved the rear door on the west side of the building.
Oh, this one? Oh, yeah, this is it. I mean, you probably have the nicest garage in town.
Thank you.
So,
I just flipped the doors.
yeah. So this is a kind of vestigial of the mirroring.
Yeah, basically what happened was that window was on the right side.
Could you grab the mic and, because
So basically that window.
you can bring it over. We can, just if you don't talk in the mic, then somebody yells at me after the meeting.
That window that you see there on the east side of the garage was on the right-hand side, and the door was on the left.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I see, so you just,
I just reversed them. And the same thing, the door on the west side, see the single door?
Yeah.
That was in the middle.
Yeah, I see a little one.
Pulled it over.
No brainer. Motion to approve. Yeah, your seconds, unanimous, thanks.
Thank you.
good luck.
73 South Lawn, please.
My name is Steve Shea. This is my wife Kathy Nickerson. We moved to 73 South Lawn in July after 29 years in Hastings. And we're seeking your approval to fence our backyard and our front yard so the deer don't get in.
Oh.
Grandson doesn't get out.
Yeah, good luck with that.
To
Yeah.
repair a retaining wall, which was railroad ties, and was before repair when we purchased the house, and to replace it with fence. Please.
I wish we could have just dealt with this, 2.5 hours ago, but I see no issue
No
with this at
issues.
all. Motion to approve, yeah, your seconds, unanimous, thanks.
Good luck.
For your patience. Night. 13 DeVoe Street, please.
DeVoe, John Gucci. Looking to basically extend the side entrance of the home towards the back, to create a back entrance instead of a storm door. Basically, follow the same roof line, go straight back from there.
Are you actually extending this or no?
Yeah, the existing one.
I couldn't
existing
figure that out.
features in there.
The existing, but you're not changing the dimension, are you? It's the same.
No, yeah, it's the same.
You're just replacing.
Not replacing, going back towards.
You're going back slightly.
Yes, exactly. There's an existing storm door there, which you can see in the picture, which basically I'm gonna be pumping up with the rear door instead of a storm door.
Oh,
Yes,
this guy, yeah.
Yes, I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
cover
push
that
up.
up and push that forward.
That's very
Keep
simple.
everything the same.
Any, no, motion to approve as submitted? Yeah, your seconds,
Oh, thank you.
all in favor, unanimous, thank you. Good night. 29 Belden.
Good evening, Brad Overchange over at Architects. It's late, so I'm going to do this very quickly. We are proposing a modest 348 square foot addition, one story addition to the first floor to expand the existing kitchen. And then basically the exterior is to restore the building to its original glory. We're taking stucco off and doing a clapboard. We're taking that chimney, which is off to the right-hand side off, so this is an addition. Replacing the slate roof with new roof to match. And restoring some of the windows and adding, and replacing the windows up in the attic to match the existing.
Nice drawings. Is the client here?
Sorry?
Is the client here?
Yes. Right there.
Very nice.
It's wonderful, thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, well,
You're done.
best house of the store in the village at the moment. Good luck make a motion. Yeah, it is fun. I mean, we've seen, seen that house for years, waiting for someone to come along and put some love into it. Yeah. Okay, good luck. Motion to approve as submitted. EA or seconds. Unanimous. Thank you. Good night. Thanks. The 11 Livingstone Avenue Hotel. You forgot your property.
That's good. Think about the corner there.
I just, it's the interior, the corners, it's true, the corners, but it's something that, this color scheme's.
It's the same brick. No, that didn't change that.
Yes, they did, right there. This is the solid, look, compare these two.
Better.
Good evening, I'm Martin Berger from Sabre Dobbs Ferry LLC, and we're here this evening for two minor modifications to the previous approval for the Rivertown Square project. The first pertaining to the hotel, where there's the same materials used slightly differently, and the second for the IFIC Theater facade. And also in connection with the IFIC Theater, I wanted to point out that we successfully are moving the parking back from the roof down to the bottom, and I'll explain that in detail. As you might recall, originally the project was approved with no parking on the roof, and when we at some point added parking on the roof, it required that we added a parapet and lighting. We now are reverting back to the original design. So in connection with the hotel, which we are either they have or they will be filing building permit applications very soon. The new operator is using the same materials but slightly different. I think in summary, it's less IFIS and more brick. So what we have is, I have a presentation that shows the approved, and then next to it, the slide of the existing. I know we submitted them, and I'll just walk through them quickly. This is the main reception area of the hotel that was approved. And this is the view that we're proposing. Very slight different. They relocated the flagpole. They used more brick and less ephes. In the front on Livingstone, this is the approved development. And this is the modification. I guess most notably, they made the little second door outdoor space as compared to enclosing it. So again, this is the approved, and this is the approved. It's the same materials, but just used in different percentages, etc. In connection with the south view, this was the project as approved, and the project as proposed. So basically, I think you can see the difference is the end cap that's closest to us, which is in fact covers parking behind it. If you recall, the second floor of the building, or the first floor of the lobby, isn't as long as the building and the parking wraps around that. It's now cladded with brick. And those are the approved and new approved project. Would you like to discuss this, or should I move on to the item?
No, let's go up to
Okay.
because we're not gonna issue an approval independent of the whole thing, so.
Okay. So with the IPEC again, this is the approved project and materials. And this is the modified. So just for the previously approved and the modified. And this slide shows the exact materials, cost amount. This is approved theater finishes and the amended, so very slightly different.
So can you go 2 slides back and show the approved, so the paneling, the one we see on the left and to the left of the image and to the right, you know, and I don't, perhaps it's the same material just illuminated in a different way in the center where the sign, IPIC sign is. What is that material? What was the approved material? Was that a stucco?
Yes, it was a stucco.
So really, it's the same material. It's just rendered slightly differently. And I mean, here we're looking at an elevation. So you know.
I believe that the stucco is now changed to IFIS with metal panels. But yeah, very similar coloring as well.
And can you explain to me the difference between, because here in your amended materials board, I see stucco fascia, stucco pier, storefront glass, but I don't see anything about EFIS. What's essentially the difference in the 2 materials?
I don't think there is a difference in the material itself. I think the difference is in the stucco, it's a sprayed-on application, and I believe this is panelized.
Okay.
What I can do is I can ask a question of the architect and send it in tomorrow.
No, I mean my understanding of EFIS is a kind of you know, in appearance it's sort of stucco-like, but I don't know. Do you know this material any better?
You're talking about which one?
Well,
It's
this is called out as an EFIS panel.
It's panels.
Yeah, I mean,
No, this is panel.
this is panel. No, this is also, see,
No.
this is metal panel.
What's it called? This relates to this and
Correct.
this is EFIS.
Yeah, this is the
This
question I
is
have.
metal now. This is EFIS.
Yeah. What's the difference between EFIS and stucco?
It's stucco.
It's the same thing.
It's stucco. It was stucco before, right?
I believe it's exactly the same with the exception of the way it's applied.
EFIS, that's all. Okay.
I
Well,
don't
then
think- I don't think
there's
it's
really
part.
no, it's just a sort of like rearrangement of the
Yeah.
composition.
The only,
Yes.
the only introduction is this used to be, now it's more detailed.
I have no vision, I'm not sure what that looks like.
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting, please.
If
Oh, sorry,
if I read it correctly, right?
I believe the material and look is exactly the same. I just think that it's a different process of installation.
Okay, thanks.
The approved theater had parking on the roof with a parapet wall and light fixtures on the roof. And we were successful in basically realizing that if we took advantage of the existing grade rather than fill it, but use it, we'd be able to put the parking under the theater. So we're using the same parking ramps and the same parking deck.
Could I say more to that? This board will approve the material changes and the elevation changes for the 2 buildings, but this is planning board.
Okay.
It's preferable,
Okay.
and in anybody's opinion, but
All right.
that's planning board.
Sure. I wanted to just walk you through it.
Yeah, thanks.
So, just to give an orientation, we're not modifying any of the traffic movements. The traffic will come in off of Livingstone and enter and be able to park in the back and go up the ramp. And at the same time, once they're on the 2nd level, they'll be able to go straight under the existing building with the existing grade. And there'll be the same number of parking spaces or a similar amount as on the roof. And they'll be able to take an external elevator that was previously approved up rather than taking down, they'll be taking the elevator up. So the benefit of this is just that we'll be able to eliminate the extra few feet of parapet height and the site lighting. The cars on the roof We don't think they were visible, but if they are, they will no longer be there, so it won't be an issue.
No, clearly, yeah.
So we'll follow up with you, Ed, on that aspect. But in regard to the materials, there's a we think that the materials are the same, slightly different variation of facade. And this is what IPEC has ultimately settled on for the look.
Any comments? I mean, I think the hotel is stronger. The corners are sort of better resolved on the south side with this sort of open section. There seems to be some kind of terrace, and then also on the north side. So it's a welcome improvement. Obviously, so it's parking underground, which, as I pointed out, really isn't for us. And essentially the there's a slight change in the composition of the theater, but I mean, the elements are the same. I think we all came to some agreement about those a while ago, and so, you want to shift one over.
Yeah. No, we think
I
that
think it's
both-
fine. I think it works. The composition works as good as the previous one, so, I don't have any other comments, so, no.
Would it be possible to ask for an approval on those two elements?
Yeah,
tonight?
absolutely. I'll make a motion, we approve the two, all the changes included in the presentation. Obviously the contingent on some planning board reassessment of the parking.
Oh, okay.
The planning board and board of trustees will look at the parking
Okay.
change, but they'll approve this.
Okay,
like
perfect, perfect, thank you.
Do I have a second?
Well, thank you very much for all your help.
Seconds, yeah, unanimous, thanks.
Thank
A
you.
lot going on over there.
Yeah, we're
Good to see.
trying to, as I was saying earlier, we're trying to finish all the off-site improvements and get the Logan Avenue extension open in the next couple of weeks.
It's very exciting. You've been down.
I mean, I drive by it all the time, maybe we'd take a walk over there one of these days.
And you got happy to take, you got your paperweights, right? We're happy to walk through the.
Without your name, right?
Well, and it's there weekly, not daily.
Yes, thank you for the paperweights.
Thanks. 33 Livingston. Long haul. The battery died.
I guess we can make this one tweak, it's just like a Russian.
Well, I don't know what the
Changes are.
Yeah, it's like a wrench, right? Well, I don't know. Well, there's clearly that, but I don't know if it's.
We're finding that to put the garage onto the house was postponed because the only way to get access to the backyard, there's a lot of work done there. And originally we were going to do a pool, but that idea was abandoned. These are, a lot of what you see in these drawings were already approved. There was a courtyard plan and details that was approved in April 2012. The waste enclosure, that's this gate and this wall here. We have, I'll show you another drawing of waste enclosure, detail that we approved. The drawings for the garage were approved, and we have not changed the front facade. Can you speak into the microphone? Okay, what we've changed is we've made a slight change to the rear facade, and that is just to change the configuration of the stair. And,
Christina?
yes. Okay, that's good. Thank you. This area right here The original plan had a utility room for pool equipment, and we eliminated that. And created room for an outdoor kitchen. And then we reconfigured the stair that goes up to the deck so that we have a more compact layout and we have a spiral stair. This is the rear facade, and we have the same deck railing detail. And we moved the stair from being over here to having a spiral coming down to a platform. And this is really to make this more compact, so we have more outdoor space. This is the north elevation, just showing the spiral coming down from the upper deck down to a lower platform. And below that, we have tongue and groove painted doors that are providing some outdoor storage for our garden tools. The front facade is the same. This railing is exactly the same except for the post. Instead of being wood, we're using metal posts, and that's because it'll tie in better with the spiral staircase in the back. This elevation actually is only here because it's showing the waste enclosure, which is a tongue and groove panel detail that we've used often throughout the house. This is just a section through the deck. This is almost the same section that was approved a few years ago. And our materials are the same. We're just resubmitting them. We're going to be using stone on the garage walls to match the stone that's already here. On the gravel and courtyard walls, we're using driveway lead pavers. This is what we had shown you a few years ago that was approved. I'm not sure, but this is the light fixture we're using. Gutters and leaders are all copper. And actually, these are just parts of the material display that we showed you that have already been put on the house. Do you have any questions?
So is the change just the spiral stair?
Yes, the front facade looks the same.
So no one really sees that?
No.
Except if you're standing by the river or something.
No, I didn't put it on the PowerPoint, but if you need to see the original plan, I have it here.
That's fine.
It's quite minor.
I know.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's maybe not.
Are they going to start construction on that soon?
Yes, we hope tomorrow.
Well, I will make a motion to approve this as submitted, hopefully to get you rolling as soon as possible. Your second's unanimous. Say thank you.
Good luck.
Right. I have no minutes. I'm gonna, let's make a motion to,
Thank you.
Yeah, let's look at the minutes of the next,
It's been a
defer
long
the
night.
minutes to the next meeting. We have a second. Yeah, your second's unanimous. Make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting. Your second's unanimous. We adjourned.